Push record, and we are officially live. Let's see here. I need to get my screen here spotlighted. Okay, so we got coaches coaching. So today we're talking get-ups and Lunge Matrix. We're going to start with the Lunge Matrix, talk through that. We had, I can't remember who asked about that. Jordan asked about that, about the Lunge Matrix. We're going to take the first 5 minutes, go through that, and then we're going to get into get-ups from there with Nick. He's got his home gym all set up, ready to go. So Lane, you were going to cover some of the Lunge Matrix. Let me get it over to you if you want to take the floor for a second.
Yeah, so if you look at the regression-progression sheet on the Lunge Matrix, sometimes I think it's a little confusing for people because it says body weight static split squat matrix and then goes to body weight lunge matrix and then medicine ball lunge matrix and then just weighted lunge. So just to clear that up to start, the body weight static split squat matrix, the reason it says static split squat is because you're not moving. The lunge, you're actually going to move. So I'm just going to quick demo through the differences on these progressions, and that to me should clear up pretty quickly, what the split squat matrix is, and then we can, quickly talk about uses for it. So body weight static split squat matrix. So you're going, I'm going to change this. With the static, you're starting with a hold. I usually do 5 counts and then 5 reps, okay? Then I'm gonna go lateral, hold, and 5. And then the one people get tripped up on is you step back, okay? So you're right here, 90, 90, hold, and rep, okay? So the point of the split squat matrix is to, one, build stability, but in all 3 planes, okay? So notice we went each plane of motion.
So the other thing on that, guys, is so a couple things. One is he talked through 2 progressions on it. One was the hold, and then from there doing reps. The other thing you can do is step into it, right? So the difference would be if I'm here and I'm doing, let's say, side lunge, then I'm here sitting back into it, right? I can hold it, I can go here or step into that position, right? So with that step into it, they're having to decelerate themselves into it. It is a progression on top of that one, on top of the static and on top of doing the rep itself. Am I right?
Yeah, that's where when you move on the sheet from body weight static split squat matrix, when you're stepping into it like RJ just showed, now it becomes a lunge. That's essentially the difference, is now it's moving, it's dynamic. Okay, and so that was you teach that. A lot of people are gonna struggle with it. So that's why you'll see body weight and then med ball. So now I can step in and counterbalance each one of those movements. Okay, and then from there, I like to start with a kettlebell and just do a half rack loading. You'll notice that's the last one. It just says weighted lunge. Or you can grab 2 dumbbells and do the same thing.
When you do the half rack, do you always put the weight on the side where you're going back, the leg that's going back?
I like to do the opposite side. Otherwise, it pulls me over. It's a lot harder. Let me go this way. Doesn't matter that much, honestly.
You're able to control it. You're able to have more control with it inside your body than outside.
Yeah.
So you can rack it on the outside, but it's going to be much better and more efficient to rack on the inside. The other thing, real quick, Lane, if you can stand back up and go back to your So see how Lane's got his rug, his carpet? One way to easily set someone up on that drop step lunge is to have them line their feet up with a 90-degree angle and then go out from there, right? So he would line his feet up just like he is and then move his feet along the line until he gets into that position. And then that's a way to be able to help them get into that drop step. Right? Any other questions on Lunge Matrix before we move on? So real quick, just to kind of recap, we talked through the 3 different ways. You got frontal, sagittal, and transverse, basically, right? And then from there, you've got the different ways of going through it. Static, having your feet set, and then stepping, and then having you step into it. Does anybody have any questions on that before we go to get-ups?
Sorry, maybe I'm just slow to catch on, but could we go through the drop step one more? Is that the transverse plane?
Yep.
Yeah, so the biggest thing with that one, Rachel, is that so if I'm setting it up. So
and Rachel, sorry, real quick, Rachel, that one is one that is the most difficult to get people set up in. It's the one that everybody screws up. It's a challenge.
I always tell people to point 90 degrees, okay? So I'm gonna drop step, point 90, and then I'm sitting back, okay? And then when I move, it all happens at once. Rotate into it, okay? But that's where people struggle. But that's why I like to do the split squat matrix in the warm-up when I can as an activation exercise, is I'm teaching these people to move in each plane and get their hips lined up in each plane. And then when I go to lift, they're usually good on just about anything. So it can be.
All right, that makes sense.
Okay, any other questions, guys, on that? No? Okay, so we're gonna go from there to get-ups. We've got the man, the myth, the legend, Nick Remy. He and I have been sharing McDonald's fries, trying to get our hairlines back. So we're going to turn the time over to hear him talking get-ups.
All right. Welcome to the Remy home gym. It's very tiny. It's like a closet. Get-ups. This has got to be one of my favorite exercises for your clients, mainly just because most adults don't spend a lot of time on the ground. In fact, even when you tell them to get on the ground, they look at you like you're nuts. And why would I do that? And then it's teaching them up and down movements. So how can I get from the ground up cleanly without injury? And you also are going through several different positions when you think about it. Even though it's a total coordination with body effort, you're still doing basic rolling patterns, pressing, hinging, doing a lunge, even a loaded carry. You're getting all these done in one movement after the full skill is taught. So what I'm going to start with is naked get-ups. Don't get too excited. I'm going to leave on my clothes for this.
It is Valentine's Day.
Yeah. But usually we'll grab something like a shoe. That's easiest at the gym, or sliders. So I don't have my shoes on today, so that's what I got down here. Can you see me all right?
Yeah, we got you. You're good.
Okay. So whatever side of your body is up, the knee's going to be up and the hand's going to be up. What you want to teach the client first, which is really hard to tell, like with just me telling you about it, is tension and packing that shoulder in. Right now, when it's a naked get up, it's not going to be horrible for safety. But as soon as I get a heavy load over my head, like if a shoe falls in my face, I might wake up a little, but it's not going to kill me. If this kettlebell falls in my face, it ain't going to be so pretty anymore. So I usually grab their hand and tell me not to pull them up, because if I can pull them up, then they're loose. They're not packed in. But when I grab their hand and say, don't let me pull you up, don't let me pull you up, they have to pack in that shoulder, and then they'll only move about this. Now I'm getting them that position that I need for when they get a load over their body, packed in. So both sides are up, and then I'm going to have the other sides at a 45. So my arm's going to be at a 45, hand down at all times, because you're going to see clients do all sorts of things to the side, palm up. It's always palm down, push through the ground, and then my leg's going to follow. Then we usually teach patterns by quarters, right? So even on the progression regression sheet, you'll see us say, hey, you're going to do a quarter of a get up. And basically what you want is my shoe or my slider to be pushing straight to the roof with that packed in shoulder, and I'm rolling to my elbow. That's the hardest part to teach your clients, is that roll. They're going to want to do this and crunch up. And so where we can go with that, if you can't get them to, is more of a rolling get up, a rolling 45, where you'll just teach them back and forth patterns so they get the idea of rolling instead of crunching. Once we get that down, then you just go.
So Nick, real quick, why, what's the importance of the roll versus the crunch?
Because this is more of, if you're crunching, obviously that's more of spine. Everything we're against, right? Like you're doing anti-extension, anti-flexion, like you're trying to keep it just more of your spine neutral. On that roll, I'm not changing spine alignment too much. I'm more just rolling into that elbow. So it's preventing injury is the main thing. You're preventing injury and you're just doing rolling, because we're not doing crunches. This isn't necessarily for core, even though you're going to feel a ton of core, but it's more from that rolling pattern. So we go into that quarter get up, still packed in shoulder. Where they screw up on this too is it's both my shoulders need to be tense. So it's kind of weird because you have 4 knots in your system that you're watching during the get-ups, your hips and your shoulders. And they need to be just as much able to have tension as they need to have relaxation and mobility. So I got to be tense right here in each position, but I also got to be able to have the mobility to change positions and stay that tension. So quarter, then we go to hand, we just cork it in, screw it in, and then right here's another position that they tend to screw up, is you want your knee in line a little bit with your heel.
Real quick, stay in that position for a second, because you're actually in a great angle. I know you're feeling really comfortable too. So you can see straight line for the most part, right? From his top hand to his bottom hand, right? If he were lying down against the wall, that's essentially a floor slide, right? So this is where, you know, he's talking about, you know, the various, and you can relax for a second, Nick. So he was talking about at the beginning, FMS, you know, screening. This is a phenomenal thing as far as hip mobility, as far as hip lift, as far as T-spine mobility, as far as split squat, inline lunge. I mean, there's, you know, you look at FMS, the 7 scores on FMS, I think 5 of them are on here, right? Even you look at a roll with rotary stability in the beginning, right? That's a fairly good indicator of how well they're able to do that. So like he's saying, as you break it down pattern by pattern, you can be able to see where there's issues and where it's not. If you just have them rolling through it and they're not pausing, you're not able to get that assessment process.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's kind of like it's a really good exercise even to start with without a load, and you can see where they're at that day as when you're doing every movement's a screen. And then if you know their movement patterns really well, of course, at the end of the workout's great, even if you can get them to a load. From here, like I said, a lot of the times they're going to screw up. They're going to do 2 things. They're either going to have that knee not in the right position. They're going to be too far forward or way too far back and not actually in line. And my hand needs to be in line with my other hand. Sometimes how you can fix that if they're having issues, I don't know if you're going to be able to see me, but you get them against a wall, because then I can keep my knee open. I won't kneel. I won't have the knee fall in. I'm pushing it against the wall. And then when I get up to where I need to hinge, when I hit this foot against the other wall, I'm in the perfect position. So if the wall's right behind me, that knee gets against the wall, my foot hits, so I know I'm not too far back, I'm not too far forward.
So real quick, Nick,
and then from here,
hey, so real fast, Nick, if you were setting them up on the wall, start from the very beginning. You're lying down. Where is the wall? How far away from the wall? Start at the very beginning.
Try to turn.
Oh yeah, if you got
Okay,
a wall there, that would be the best. Let's do that.
So if I'm against the wall, see if I can see it. You don't want your knee way open, but you want to be able to have it more up and down and slightly too, pushing away from you. You just don't want falling in. So now I'm pushing against the wall. My arm right here is just going to be the same, pushing against the ceiling. And then when I come up and I loop around, see how that foot hits the wall? I'm in the position I need to be in. So I'm not going too far forward, I'm not going too far back. I'm exactly where I need to be. So that lines them up, giving them that physical cue. Instead of you just talking to them all day, they can just be like, hey, push your knee against the wall, throw that foot back, and you're in the position you need. Okay,
so this is one way, guys. We talk often about, with our training, we're trying to get things that we can do that are simple, that we don't have to, you think about coaching a group of 4 or 5 people brand new with get-ups, right? And you're trying to work on that swing and where to get that foot, right? That's an easy way for you to be able to just go set them up. And then they're essentially teaching themselves, right? As they're going through that get-up process, right? So that's what you want to think about is how many of these different ways can we get in training sessions, and that's a perfect way to be able to get the foot position without having to really do a ton of in-depth coaching yourself, right? Letting them use things. Anyways, go ahead.
Great kinesthetic cue.
There you go. Kinesthetic. That was the word I was looking for. It was right on the tip of my tongue too. Kinesthetic.
The less you have to coach, the better coach you are.
Ooh.
So I'm going to get up to that position. This is, again, let's say they get the alignment correct. Now they need to make sure that they hinge. Instead of just go right into a lunge, they're going to hinge back, swoop up, and there's 2 ways that you can do it. It's whatever's comfortable for the client. They either can sweep that leg, which I feel like kind of rubs the knee wrong, or they can just step in. And then just step right up. That's fairly easy. Now your face is off the kettlebell from looking at it. Once you get into a lunge, you no longer have to look up. It'll just look straight forward. And then you just reverse the process, obviously. Big step back, open the gate, slide down the leg, and push out. And they're always checking where they're supposed to be, because they're going to be either too short or too long. Not horrible when it's a naked get up, but once the load's over my head, I want to be packed in. And then I just swoop out, drop to that elbow, roll back down. That's the naked get up, but we always teach like quarters all the way up, but there might be a point where they just get stuck. So even though they can get to this part, it doesn't mean that I'm going to constantly teach them that whole part. Like maybe down there they're doing really good, but once they get to the hinge, they suck. And then I can just teach them the sweeping drill. So they're just staying in a position and learning that, instead of constantly going through every single part of the movement. And then from there, we're going to
real quick. I want to touch on that real fast. So on get-ups, he's talking about breaking it down, right? And I want to make sure that message is clear, that with get-ups, the easiest way to coach get-ups is by breaking it down piece by piece, right? When I was in South Jordan 2 weeks ago, we were doing the program for the month of February. I only, they weren't extremely comfortable with get-ups. And so I only taught them up to a half. That was it. We rolled to the elbow, we went on the hand, and then we swung the gate, and that was it. We didn't do anything else. So I didn't even show them up to clear all the way, because I want them to just coach their people up to a half, because we haven't been working on that in South Jordan. That's fine, right? And so now we are, but we're only going to go up to that half because we're breaking it down piece by piece, right? And you can see, as he was saying, you can even go in the middle right? Get the gate swing, get that part of it, right? So it's, yeah, anyways.
Yeah, and there's even, like I've seen people, I haven't done it myself, but I've seen coaches that even go reverse on the get-ups. Like somebody that's pregnant and you don't exactly down and get back off the ground, well, they can do a reverse get-up and not go all the way to the floor. There's like thousands of different ways you can break this apart, where they're just even standing right here, and this is their get-up, where then they come back up. At least they're getting to the ground, coming back up, and maybe with a light load.
Nick, I have 2 clients right now, one pregnant and one with a major shoulder issue. And doing those get downs and just, stopping at that point has been awesome for them, because at first they're like, oh, well, I can't do that. And now it's been pretty cool that they're able to continue to participate in the get up. They just go from the top down. So you might just have to reverse your approach.
And sometimes people learn different too, right? And so top down sometimes is a better teaching tool for some people too. It's just right position. And then we're going to go to load. The biggest thing on this is safety is part of performance. It goes through our first 2 rules. You just got to treat the kettlebell with respect, especially when you get fairly heavy. Like I said, if this hits you in the face instead of the shoe, that's trouble. Or even how you pick it up and set it down. And whatever you do when you're showing your client, exactly what they're going to mimic. So you need to make sure you're treating.
So one thing on this real quick, Nick, before you even talk about loading, how long until you load somebody?
That was my kid screaming. Sorry. What?
You have a dinosaur in your house? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
can you see the dinosaur? But how long until you're loading people?
Some of them I never even load. It's how strong is strong enough. And some of my clients don't need a heavy load, or they might need a light load, and some just don't need a load at all. I'm just going to get them off the ground and on the ground again. It just depends on your client. Obviously, we want all our clients as strong as possible, but once it becomes like going back to the same quote of how shitty is too shitty, if it looks good enough to me, but I'm not comfortable with loading them yet, just be like, hey, we're just doing body weight, or how they feel that day. So it just depends. I think there's a lot of benefit with just naked get-ups.
And my point is that we always want to load, right? We always want to get to the next level, right? And we're progressing people too quickly, and they're not owning the position before we load them up, right? And so you said, a lot of his clients he never even loads. Right. And I would completely agree with that statement.
One thing on this, guys, too, sometimes people want to immediately load the get up because they want to feel it. Right. Well, one thing I've found with those clients is having them just do a bunch of get ups in a row. Like when we took the HKC, Dan made us do like 20 in a row. And then I can promise you are going to feel it. And so sometimes if you're doing that in your workout program and you've progressed them, they're doing a full naked get up, no problem. And you don't necessarily want them to load yet. We'll have them do a bunch of them consecutively. Hey, you're going to do 8 get ups on your right, 8 get ups on your left, and start moving quickly through the pattern. Their heart rate's going to get through the roof. And that can be another way to get more mileage out of the get up before you eventually move to that loaded pattern.
Okay,
yeah,
Nick,
so now loaded pattern is like that's your end goal.
Sorry, what'd you say?
So load, like I said, you got to treat the kettlebell with respect. So usually we just get into that fetal position and cuddle it. So I'm going to start with my left side. So obviously I'm going to be down on my left side to grab that kettlebell. Cover my other hand. I'm rolling over. If this treadmill doesn't get in the way. And then from there, I'm going to lift up with both hands. And what you're going to see is a lot of clients trying to just take that. I'm not even going to try it because this thing's pretty heavy, but they'll try like one arm and just push it up. And then that's when they're going to get a shoulder injury. It's going to hit them in the mouth. And then it goes through the same pattern, but now you really have to watch locking in that shoulder. So I roll to that elbow. I'm still looking at the kettle. I'm locked in. I sweep under. I don't know if this is a good position to show you guys. Hinge back. Sweep my leg in, close the gate. Stand up. Big way back. Open that gate. Take my hand down my thigh. I'm making sure my position's perfect. Sweep underneath. Roll to my elbow. And then back is a very small room. And then I use both hands to come down to my chest. And then I just roll it back. When I go to the other side, you have two options. Because again, I'm going to take it and pick it up to the other side. And that's going to kill their shoulders. So it's either roll it around your head or just stand up and walk to the other side. But essentially, it's the exact same thing that we just did with naked get-ups, just packed in and making sure that they're keeping it straight overhead and safe the whole time. So I'd start with the light load. There's even, I'm out of breath. Whew. That was my workout for the day.
That's a heavy bell, man.
Oh,
That was a heavy bell. What I want to do is let's do it again, but I'm going to have you pause in each spot for like 5 seconds, and we'll kind of coach through it.
With that bell.
Okay, so before we talk about anything else, I want to see what questions people have.
Okay.
There's got to be some.
Oh.
Nothing? Really? What? Okay, well, okay.
Nick, can you show the press?
One last thing with it, though. Yeah, I'll tell you about a couple of things. The biggest thing that like I've learned on the get-ups and Dan just racking in my head is there's going to be some idiot on the internet that's going to make like a Tabata get-up and just let's do as many as we can. And the whole point is slower the better, and one get-up can do a trick. Like you might even just do one loaded get-up on both sides, and that was your get-ups. You don't necessarily have to go up the chain a ton. You can, if it's not loaded too much, like I'd go up to 10 if it's comfortable and safe for the client, but one does miracles. And so this is one of those ones, slower the better, and I would go minimum reps. He even talks about a 5-minute get-up where you're just basically doing what you were just going to throw me under the bus and try is you're taking through 5 minutes. I wouldn't necessarily do this with clients, but it's something that they've done where it's like you're learning your patterns. Where if you have to go really, really slow, then you have to own that movement instead of worrying about just go, bust through it. Yeah, and then there's one that Lane's talking about that you can even do a pressing get up.
Wait, real quick, can I interrupt for just a second? So one way,
Yeah.
We've talked about teaching it and the ease of it. And one way, like he's talking about, so I want to do an example. So if I was coaching Nick, but we could do this with 10 people. I would go, okay, Nick, lie down on the ground, get your feet set, get your hands set. Go ahead, I'll wait.
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. With the weight?
No wait. Just no wait. I'm gonna be nice. No, you can put it down. Come on, we're not gonna do that to you. Okay, so if I got him in position, then I go, okay, roll to your elbow. Right? So I would have the whole group roll to their elbow. Stay there, right? So he's gonna hold that position, and then I'm gonna walk up and make sure hands stacked on top of elbow, kind of coach him through it, right? Make sure, see where the body position, and I'm doing that with the whole group, right? And then go hand. So now he's going to go to his hand, right? Same thing. Coach everybody, make sure everybody's in the right position. Everybody's got to hold it that whole time. Okay, so I'm not going to have you swing, Nick. I'm going to have you drive your hip. So drive your hip. Well, he swung, but that's okay. So he's going to hold that position. That's okay. Drive the hip. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. So once again, he's holding that, right? Driving that hip. I'm making sure I'm going to even go and poke him in his butt cheek and sit and go, hey, look, this is where I need you to feel it, that sort of thing, right? And you can relax. So you get the point, though, right? You're going step by step. You're walking through the group. You're showing each person, hey, this is what this looks like. This is what you want to do. That's a simple way to coach large groups of people for the first time. Go ahead, Nick. You were talking press.
Yeah, there's just two more things I want to just there's 1,000 different ways you can coach and teach and have tools for stuff. And two of the things that I've learned even from get up that basically I wouldn't go too heavy a load. This is probably too heavy. But when we're saying learn positions and the extra benefit of getting a decent amount of presses on the way up is that they'll basically each position you have to do a press. Like I said, this is probably too heavy of a load. All the way up and then all the way down. I'm not going to do it because I've had my workout for the day. But the idea is that you have to take time to do that press. So that slows down the process where you're learning each pattern and you're getting some pressing in by the end. And then the last one, I don't think you had a good enough sandbag, right? For that one. Just that little tiny one. You could do the 40. I'll just talk it. So
I can go. We got it. Let's go.
Okay. And like we said, they're different positions, right? So, and every movement's a screen. If I can't get somebody to do a floor slide or they have bad shoulder mobility, well, I'm not going to put a heavy load over their head, right? So I'm not going to take a kettle and do that. I could just do naked get-ups, but what if I want to load it and not injure them? Well, that comes like a sandbag is really great because now they don't have to put it over their head. They put it over their shoulder and then just hold it there. I don't remember what kind of sandbag you had. Usually it'll drape over.
Sandbag. Yep.
And from there, probably do it with that, but usually the drape over is a little bit better. Yeah.
You would have it drape over.
And now he's not heavy over.
So imagine I've got a sandbag here. Right, so it's a big sandbag hanging over my shoulder.
Now you're getting everything, all the benefits of a get up. You're just not getting the overhead movement.
Right.
So there's tons of different stuff. The biggest thing to remember is like not to load it until they're ready and they own the movement. It's kind of like a kettlebell swing. It's a skill. So it takes time to own this movement. It's going to take, just like when we teach a kettlebell swing, we don't just go right out of the gate and swing. It's like, do I have the mobility to do certain things? Or am I owning certain movements before I even try to lock it in with load? And there's several ways to go about it.
So what is the best way in team train where it's more fast paced? I mean, you're not teaching a whole get up. You're just doing the quarter. But if people are really struggling, you only have so much time.
My idea would, like, obviously just be a coach, right? But one of the go-tos for me is still those rolling 45s because they're probably not going to hurt themselves and they're going to get the rolling pattern. And that's an easier way to teach it than sometimes even the quarter, because the quarter they're still trying to crunch, but when I have them going back and forth, they're automatically rolling.
So you could do that, or you can have them pause, hold the position, say, hey, there's going to be, whatever it is, a 30-second time period. Let's concentrate on just getting 3, and they're slow and controlled in that 30-second time period. Other questions, guys?
I have a question on when to load. Do you make sure they know the entire movement before you start back at loading the quarter, or do you allow them to load the quarter before you progress them to the sweep and so forth?
I think either way you're fine, but I prefer just to go all the way up the chain on the naked get up because there's so many benefits to that before I even try to lock it in. But yeah, if they own the quarter get up and you want to do a light load, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Okay.
And the other thing I would say on that too is it would depend on what, you know, the goals are of the client as well. You know, if you know, if you feel that you got to move up the chain first before loading them up, you know, like Nick is saying with somebody, then do that. But if you feel that, hey, they're owning this quarter get up, you know, and they can do it, you're fine to load them up. Just make sure you're not loading up a half get up, you know, when they're only on half, you know, quarter of the movement.
One thing I like is kind of a rule of thumb is use that shoe or slider test that Nick was showing you as kind of like a little graduation test. When you can do the full get up, all the way down without dropping the shoe, they're probably fairly ready for a load at that point. Because that takes a lot of control.
And balancing something is usually more of a challenge than loading them up. Unless
we can't do it. We can't do it in the gym, but like Dan made us go and fill up his dog water. And we had to take a glass all the way up. You spilled it on yourself. You had to start over again.
Yep.
Somebody should do that. That would be awesome. Other questions, guys? No? All right. Nick, you did a wonderful job. Appreciate it. Also, Lane, thanks for the Lunge Matrix. Appreciate everybody that's on. You guys have a wonderful day. We'll be back on tomorrow at 6 a.m. for the rookie call. We're doing dynamic warm-up and FMS. Is that right? Awesome. Okay, guys. Talk to you later.